Let's podcast. Alongside Joe Giglio, I'm Joe Ovies. We are inside Eford Studios. We're live. I can't edit this. We are inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties. Thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out at copiers-plus.com. And of course, thanks to our friends at Hometown Realty. They sponsored all of our ACC tournament coverage. The content did not stop with an insane ending on Friday night between Duke and Carolina. Oh no, Joe. The content gods deliver once again with North Carolina. The big debate about their bubble status. Are they in? Are they out? They are in. And people are mad. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, A, it's Carolina, and they look at the name brand. And two, they see Bubba Cunningham, the AD, as the NCAA selection chair. And of course, the conspiracy theories. And I called this on Friday when we were talking to Patrick Stevens of the Washington Post. This is going to become a political football, or I'm sorry, wrong sport. Boo Corrigan already dealt with that. This is a political basketball that he's going to have to deal with. And he's not going to answer any questions about it because, as they laid out on the CBS selection show, he had to be removed from the room. Keith Gill, who is the vice chair, Sunbelt commissioner, had to answer those questions. We have that audio. But your initial thoughts on Carolina getting in?
You can, and I see the comments already about Wob, and I know that Bubba brought up Wob and Bart Torvik. But I'm going to be honest with you. If you look at the teams on the bubble, Carolina, West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio State, Boise, they're all within 10 of each other in Wob.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically a statistical stalemate. Here's where Carolina differentiated itself. In one of the oldest Gottman axioms, who you schedule outside of your league, the games that you control, the NCAA selection committee will always give you credit for the games that you control, even if you don't win them, okay? Carolina was 4th in the country in non-conference strength of schedule. That's a differentiator, especially when you look at those other teams on the bubble. Next, as I preached all week down in Charlotte, winning those 2 games, I believe, got Carolina into this tournament. It was the combination of winning the first 2 games in Charlotte, West Virginia, 0-1 in barbecue in the Big 12, Indiana, 0-1 in barbecue in the Big 10, Ohio State, 0-1 in barbecue in the Big 10.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't win a game in your conference tournament, I honestly do not give 2 shits what the Wob, Bart Torvik, Ken Palm, whatever number you want to say. When you lose your first game in your conference tournament, you are raising your hand and waiting for the committee to call on you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're saying, I don't want to be in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I want to go home. I would like for a note to go to the nurse now and go home. So we can talk about politics all you want. When you don't win your first game in your conference tournament, it has been proven time and time again. If you are in the bubble, you're going to get left out.
Mm-hmm.
So, to Indiana and Ohio State, fuck around and find out. Now, the team who has been aggrieved is Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
That is the team that has been aggrieved. That is the conversation I would love to hear from Lawrence in this sense, because Boise State is a shiny star that we just happen to now potentially get the ultimate settlement between Ovies and Giglio and the NCAA selection process.
And that is?
You ready for this? Boise State's Wob 53 to Carolina's 43. Again, that's not a big differentiation. Boise State's strength of schedule, 54 to Carolina's 4. If you're not familiar, back in 2019, NC State's non-conference strength of schedule was 353.
Mm-hmm.
That is why they got left out of the tournament. 353. When you don't have an extreme number, the extreme numbers are what hurt you, not a 54.
That's what hurt NC State several years ago.
Okay.
What were they? What were they that year?
In 19?
Yeah.
353.
Oh, okay.
And then 2 years or 3 years ago now, Wake Forest was like 305 or something. Again, an extreme number is how you get left out. Here is where I'm fascinated, though, about Boise State. Boise State goes 2-1 in their conference tournament. They beat San Diego State, who got in.
But
ultimately, San Diego State had 2 of the 3 wins on the season over Boise State. Do you know what Boise State has on its resume and why I'm smiling as much as I am and why it looks, obviously you don't, but I'm going to give it to you. Boise State out of the league beat St. Mary's, who's really good.
Yeah.
And Clemson out of the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue it's about your wins. Boise State lost to Boston College. Boise State lost to Boston College.
Is that the don't do anything dumb axiom?
And as we sit here, I have no other reason to tell you that they got left out other than potentially they did that one dumb thing back in November.
So hold up, Paul, because I was setting something up to bring up on the screen.
I know I'm shocking you right now.
No, wait, Boise State is 353 as well?
No, not this year.
They
don't have an extreme number.
Oh, they don't have an extreme number.
No,
okay.
what I'm saying is
I was trying to set it to Bubba, so
the only thing on Boise State's resume that suggests to me they got left out
they did something stupid.
Is they did something stupid.
Got it. Thank you.
And not only was it stupid, it was against a bad ACC team,
which Bubba knows a lot about. Speaking of Bubba Cunningham, this is on the NCAA selection show on CBS. Seth Davis set him up saying, hey, look, man, here's the political basketball. You're the AD of North Carolina. North Carolina was the controversial team with their resume, and they're the ones who ended up getting in. How do you handle that? And Bubba handled it the way he was supposed to.
Obviously, I'm going to defer that to Keith. But, all the policies and procedures were followed, and Keith can address exactly how North Carolina was discussed, because I was not in the room for any of that.
Yeah, thanks, Bubba. And Seth, I appreciate the question. As the vice chair, I managed all the conversations that we had about North Carolina, and we had quite a few. Our policies require the AD of any school to recuse themselves and actually leave the room for those discussions. And they're not allowed to participate in any vote as well. So we followed those, had lots of discussions about North Carolina. Saturday night, we took our final vote, and we voted in 4 teams in the field on Saturday night, and we had a contingency vote. And the contingency vote, that was the last team in the field. And it was based on Memphis and UAB. If Memphis won that game, then that was going to free up a spot in the tournament, and that was going to be North Carolina. If UAB had won, then Memphis was going to be in the tournament, UAB would have been in the tournament, and North Carolina would have been the first team out. And so that process played out today. Memphis won, and that put North Carolina in the field.
So there you go. That was Keith Gill. He's the vice chair, the Sun Belt commissioner. From the YouTube comments from Timothy. Disgraceful. Bubba refused to answer any questions. CBS bowed down. They just let him off the hook. That's how the process works. He cannot answer questions about it because he literally was not in the room when North Carolina was up for discussion. That's the process playing itself out. Now, to the vice chair's point about those last 4 teams in and the last 4 teams out, aka what I had predicted the last couple of weeks, Destination Dayton was on the table for the Tar Heels, and sure enough, we got Destination Dayton. And I don't care if the graphic's actually Cincinnati. I'm going to say it's Dayton. Now, let's look at the last 4 teams in, or the last 4 in the first 4 out. To your point, West Virginia, net ranking of 51. Indiana, a net ranking of 54. Ohio State, 41. What did those 3 do?
West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio State all lost their first conference tournament game.
Now we have the Boise State. Again, we don't really have a lot of answers about that. Maybe Bubba, when he does various other interviews, like he does with Matt Norlander of CBS Sports as well, which will happen here shortly, he can answer that.
Well, remember, San Diego State is in. Okay?
Yes.
So San Diego State's in their conference. They played 3 games against San Diego State. And I always tell you this. When you're on a board, it's usually 2 teams on a board.
Yes.
So I suspect Boise State and San Diego State were on a board together.
Mm-hmm.
And the committee probably looked at the 2 of those 3 losses and said, okay.
All these teams are all on the board together. And last 4 in Texas, Xavier, San Diego State, and North Carolina.
No, it's not how it works.
They're all, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they're all in. It gets to my larger point of when you have these kinds of resumes, you have opened yourself up for humans to get into the nitty gritty and then make a decision. That's what I'm getting at. They're all on this thing.
Yeah.
Every single one of these
in terms
teams.
of the actual process.
But it's a process.
You put 2 up and you compare and then you whittle down. the subcommittee, the sub chair there didn't really answer the question. He gave us a little nice diversion by saying Carolina would have been out. You know, I Boise State had a Q4 loss. It was Boston College.
Okay.
It just makes me laugh that we may have ultimately had a decision in the what matters more. The win over Clemson is what I would argue.
Of course.
If I was Boise State, but the committee is saying, no, your Q4 loss matters more than your 2 good wins.
Well, about how they viewed the metrics, because this goes by committee. This gets back to the human element of this. I thought Clark Kellogg did a really good job of trying to work around Bubba not being able to discuss North Carolina specifically. So we asked him about the metrics views and the changes in those metric views. I thought Bubba's answer was pretty boilerplate.
Yeah, well, you know, we have a lot of metrics. We added a couple of this year. We added Torvik, we added the WAB, and those are the ones that were discussed frequently. All of the predictive metrics, the results-based metrics have been around for quite some time, so we used a few additional ones. But you're right, the last 4 teams that were out, it was a tough call. The next team out was West Virginia, and they had an outstanding year, and unfortunately, Tucker DeVries was hurt, and player availability is something that we talk about quite a bit. And then Indiana was close, Ohio State was close, Boise was close, and we had a lot of conversations about those teams as well. But yeah, as I said at the onset here, that's the hardest part of being on the committee is having to draw that line. But with only one real upset this year, there were an awful lot of teams on the bubble that got in. And last year, as you guys all know, that we had 5. And so we couldn't go very deep into to that pool.
So there's Bubba Cunningham getting a roundabout question about the metrics. All right, so about those metrics, Chris Gallo, who runs a Substack called Bless Your Chart, he's daggum box scores on Twitter. I love his visualizations, all right? And he put this visualization together with the bubble teams and WAB by quadrant. You can get even more beyond just the WAB, straight WAB ranking, right? And if you look at Carolina's overall, they were a positive, a 1.49. You compare that to Boise State, which was a 0.18 when you looked at their overall record. Where everybody focused on was the quad 1, which was not good for Carolina. Whereas Boise was, obviously slightly better at 3 and 6. But when you start getting into things like quad 2, specifically quad 2, quad 3, quad 4, whatever, that's when you start getting into the don't do anything dumb category of the conversation, which what have we said about Carolina all season long?
They have not done anything dumb.
Don't do anything stupid. And by the way, outside of the Duke games in that final stretch, they crushed teams. It wasn't like Carolina was finding themselves in these close games down the stretch. They dominated those games against the gallery of don't do anything stupid. Okay. And then they played Duke close twice. But again, I get it. You don't get credit for playing a team close. However, when you start getting into the wins above the bubble, when you start comparing yourself to everybody else, you then start to ask yourself the question, what would a bubble team do against the games that Carolina had to play, including having to play Duke 3 times, a number 1 seed? You know who else they played?
Alabama, Michigan State, Kansas.
They played another number 1 seed, Florida.
They should have beat
Florida, but they didn't. But the point is,
they should have.
They played another number 1 seed, and then they played a 2 seed in Alabama.
Again, that's their strength of schedule. That's the 4. That's what matters.
But I get that. But what I'm trying to do is put that in the context of bubbles, because you said this a while back. When we're talking about Carolina, we got to stop talking about Carolina as though they're on a 1 line, a 2 line, or a 3 line. Yeah. You got to talk about this Carolina team, this iteration of Carolina, as any other bubble team. And when you start to get a little into the nitty gritty, I'm simply pointing these things out to get to the bottom of what the committee was thinking. What's the justification for getting Carolina in? And the best justification I can say about Carolina getting in is that when you're just looking at straight WAB or you're just obsessing over quad 1, it eliminates the other metrics as well. Quad 2 still matter, and Carolina was pretty good in quad 2 situations. Luke DeCock over at the News and Observer decided to put up a blind resume over on Blue Sky, which I also thought was interesting. You got Team A, net 36, Ken Palm 33 with a WAB of 43, overall WAB of 43. Team B, 44 in net, 50 in Ken Palm. They're 53 in WAB. C is 54 in net, 48 in WAB. It gets progressively worse as you go down from A, B, C, D, E, F, right? With net, you get, with Team E, you get 39 in net. WAB is 46. and Ken Palm is 44. But if I'm looking at this objectively with a blind resume, who would you take based on those numbers?
Yeah, Team A.
See, you're going to take Team A. Well. Guess who's Team A? North Carolina. Team B is Boise State. And then you get into Indiana, San Diego State, Texas, and Xavier, right? So when you look at this blind, when you look at the overall metrics they're trying to look at, which gets beyond the straight net, because remember, everybody complained about the net just a few years ago.
Well, they don't use the net.
Now they don't even use it. Funny how that works.
The new saying might be your net doesn't matter, but your WOB does.
Yes. But by the way, I think this is a good thing. I think
expanding in how they parse teams.
This is a good thing.
Is a good thing. But again, the numbers that Luke just put out, nothing really jumps out from those groups.
No.
What ultimately becomes the number that pops for Carolina is that strength of schedule 4. That pops. Being 2-1 in your conference tournament when the rest of the group was 0-1, who you're being compared to, makes it pretty easy. And to answer the Bubba portion of this, yes, being on the committee helps. Being a skilled politician and people person, which Lawrence Cunningham is
yes,
helps.
Yes.
But I would caution all of these people who are acting like Bubba was twisting his mustache and pulling the puppet strings and all this other stuff. Just 2 years ago, he was on the same committee in the same room, and Carolina was not in the tournament, as they should have been.
Yeah.
They should have been left out. Like, sometimes the numbers work your way, sometimes they don't. And I tried to explain this to people during the week. I think Carolina was rightfully left out in 23.
Yeah.
This year, I think you could make the argument that they got in. You can make a statistical argument. You can make any other kind of argument you want. I think all of those things working together, the bubble luck was real. Ohio State, Indiana, West Virginia, all losing their first conference tournament game is what ultimately sunk those 3 teams.
Yeah.
And then you start elevating Carolina based on a couple of other numbers. And then you add in the fact that, they had a guy in the room where it happened. That can help.
Shout out to Steve with his NC State brain.
God, Steve
with his NC State brain.
Tilt. He's on permanent tilt.
Bubba was allowed in the room to talk down the other bubble teams.
Yes.
Even if he couldn't be in the room to talk.
Correct.
Hey, man.
Hey, as I mentioned, the year that Tommy White and NC State didn't get in, the rival AD for Ole Miss was the head of that committee and argued to get an SEC team in.
You want to cut through the bullshit and let's just address it? Is really what's going on here? People mad at Boo Corrigan, who was the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee.
Oh, going back now.
Let's go back when he was the College Football Playoff Committee chair.
There is a little bit of,
Florida State didn't get in. If it were an SEC chair, maybe it was Bubba as the chair, right? And not Boo. Because I think that's another layer to this. You just had NC State's AD representing the ACC
in a very public position.
Very public position. And Florida State did not get in with the Jordan Travis injury, and everybody lost their minds. And of course, it set off lawsuit after lawsuit, and we ended up with a 2030 exit date for most of these teams.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas, of course, the ACC got that 4th team. But I would also bring up, if Bubba's that much of an influence for the ACC, or really anybody else, what's up with Louisville with the 8th seed? But we'll get into that a little bit later on in the. I was surprised that Louisville was an 8th, but we'll get into that in the lightning round. So there's your bottom line with Carolina. There's your lack of Bubba clarity.
Also,
but we're trying to figure it out.
Also, by the way,
what
a fucking dream!
What
to get San Diego State? Other than 1 year they went to the Final Four, like a perpetual underachiever. They're gonna run circles around them in the first 4 because it's you don't belong here. You know how many times the team who everyone's like, you don't belong here, makes a run. Let me direct your attention to Shaka Smart and VCU back in 2011.
That's a good point.
Oh, you didn't belong in the turn. George Mason, their head of the chair was their AD was the head of the selection chair. You guys didn't deserve to get in. 4 games later, they're in the Final Four.
So are you saying the reason why Duke fans, of all fans, being apoplectic about Carolina getting into the NCAA tournament, that Carolina doesn't belong here, are you saying that Duke fans are worried going, shit?
They're not.
What if Carolina gets to the championship? Because the only way that Duke and Carolina can meet this go round is in a championship game setting. We saw the last time they met up in the NCAA tournament, right?
I think Duke would welcome that, but we'll talk about Duke here. In a second.
One other thing, because I don't think did you mention this when you were breaking down Indiana? James brought it up. Didn't Indiana fire their coach?
I did.
I
did. I said this during the week. I thought Indiana would be the one left holding the bag for that particular reason.
Yeah. All right. That's Carolina. Let's move on to some other things, shall we?
Housekeeping.
This housekeeping is brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green cleaning solutions. They'll be at the house this week, and they're going to need it because of all the pollen that's out there right now.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Have we decided what we're doing Thursday for the live show?
We have not.
Okay, so that's TBD, but we're going to do something on Thursday. When we figure that out, we'll let you know. But we're going to do something for Thursday, even though we got Carolina and Dayton, obviously. But Thursday, with the tournament in town and everything else, we'll be doing that. We'll let you know. Maybe we'll be at Longleaf. Maybe we'll be at a super secret location. Who is to say? We'll let you know. Big thanks to everybody who checked out our ACC tournament coverage while we were in Charlotte. Again, big thanks to Hometown Realty for sponsoring that coverage. If you are new to the pod, hey, leave us a review. 5 stars only. Positive vibes only. Like us on YouTube, on your favorite podcast platform. Just give us 5 stars. Again, 5 stars only. Positive vibes only. The year of the hangover continues throughout March. If you look in the podcast summary, you will see the link to our friends at Bay 6 for the Drunk OG, the very hungover OG. Comfort Color shirt was originally $83, but we've reduced it to $35. The charcoal and the heather red next level tees, those are $25. We are running this through March because why should Duke and Carolina have all the fun? Order your shirts now. And once we close that store, we will start shipping them. And of course, our friends at Breaking Tea have a bunch of other OG things. Like we got the Dead Conference shirt. You see it on the hat. That was part of the hat vault. But if you want the Dead Conference, you can get the shirt over at breakingtea.com/OG. Speaking of all the fits, our friends at Rhoback have dropped a heater when it comes to their collegiate outfits. So go to rhoback.com right now. Use that promo code OG20 if you haven't. And if you have, is there a workaround?
There is. Just get yourself a different email.
Good idea.
That will help you.
Good idea. So go to rhoback.com, RHOBACK.com. OG20 is the promo code. They've dropped the Carolina polos, which are slick.
Carolina, NC State, the AV cart. I mean, they're on a roll.
They're on a roll. So go ahead, check it out at rhoback.com. Are you going to the NCAA tournament games over at Lenovo? Do I have a deal for you through March at our friends at Breeze Through? Because you're going to need the Celsius. I've had 270 milligrams of caffeine today.
That feels like a lot, Joe.
It is a lot. I've been up since 6 o'clock with hockey and then driving back from the DC area so we can get here in time to do this show. So yeah, man, I'm running on them Celsiuses. And you can get 2 for 1 right now at Breeze Through. I don't know, man. I might be so tired this week, I might have to pop a Zinni. I said it just for you, Joe. Zin's special as well. Of course, cheap water. All your tailgate needs if you're going to be tailgating out at Lenovo Center, especially as we get ready for the playoffs as well with the Carolina Hurricanes. Go check them out, breezethrough.com. Maybe you're just hanging out. You're not really doing anything, and you just want to watch these games on TV while you grill with the warmer weather. Thebutchersmarkets.com. Check out the Butcher's Market. They sponsor OG Live, which we'll be doing later this week, and we appreciate them. And of course, hold on. What? Is it Butcher's Market?
Yes.
Related? Okay. What?
I finished the hot dogs.
Yes!
James is home.
Oh, easy answer. Easy answer. Let's go. I love that.
That means I need to re-up.
No,
just
don't. Don't. It took you 5 months to go through all those hot
We
dogs.
got a tailgate coming up.
We do have a tailgate coming up. No, you're right about that. All of our ACC coverage is brought to you by Keller Williams Commercial. The Donnelly team's got you covered for all that hot dog storage the next time, Giglio. You need a giant freezer space?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they could do it. Hit them up. TriangleNCCommercial.com. Again, that's TriangleNCCommercial.com. You can call the Donnelly team, Brian and Julie, at 919-616-8681. We thank them for sponsoring ACC coverage this season. Folks, you know what time it is.
Woke up this morning, tracked myself a flight. Might get our top candidate if the pizza's right. Wade or Gainey, will it be, or somebody new? Here's your chance to make your mark, a coach in search with Boo.
So what's the latest?
Got myself a gun.
I know everybody's hyped because the NC State pep band has been scheduled. It's like we saw this.
Please don't.
Look. Hey. Last time I had a source tell me for the Carolina football coaching search that everything was set up and ready to go and the band was involved. And I'm like, come on, stop it. And of course it happened. So either the NC State ticket office, who dropped an email last week saying the new era is here, buy your tickets. And now we're getting NC State pep band scheduling confirmations. Is NC State going to announce a coach tomorrow, Joe?
Swam. Yeah, breaking news. No.
Oh, sorry. So what's going on with the NC State coaching search?
All right, I got a text this morning.
Okay.
Richard Pitino has entered the chat. Richard Pitino is the head coach in New Mexico. New Mexico is in the NCAA tournament for the second time in a row. In his fourth year at New Mexico, he had an initial run at Minnesota. Took the Gophers twice. Did not end well with Minnesota, but so now we have three choices: Will Wade, Richard Pitino, or Justin Gainey. Tennessee lost in the SEC title game today. They will not be in Raleigh. I was disappointed that Justin won't be here. McNeese gets Clemson. Which is a bad matchup for McNeese because they don't have size. Clemson's a gigantic team, but we can probably delve more into that in the lightning round if you'd like.
Sure.
The real news here on this coaching search front is that Texas made the NCAA tournament. I believe Will Wade is trying to weigh his options. That's what I believe Will Wade is doing.
Well, you've been saying that from the jump.
I think if Will Wade's choices are NC State or McNeese, he will be the next coach of the Wolfpack. If that Texas job comes open or another job that potentially catches his eye in the SEC, let's just put it there, right? I think the financials are such that he's not going to have to hope and wish that a prayer comes home from NC State. It would just be more of, I know what the options are, particularly at Texas. I mean, I remember back in 2017, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I had advocated early in the process for Debbie Dyer, Chris Holtman at the time. And Chris Holtman even had his agent even reached out to me. We had a conversation. He's like, no, he's interested. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then it became, well, Ohio State's open.
Oh, well.
And then it becomes, well, love you mean it, but Texas is another one of those love you mean it's.
Okay, about the Richard Pitino thing. This
In the chat. He's in the chat.
Okay, he might be in
On
the
the
chat,
list.
but this kind of like throws water on the whole. Well, Kevin Keats was a Rick Pitino guy.
Yeah.
And then aren't you kind of doing like
That's my logic.
This was the same thing that happened with Herb and the Millers, right?
That's my logic.
Also,
But it's not my search.
also like, I mean, I get it. I'm not plugged into Big Ten hoops.
Right.
But how exactly have things gone?
No, he's gone. He was fired from Minnesota.
I get that. I'm just like, how did things go?
Not great. They made the tournament twice
Okay.
in looks like 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he has been good at New Mexico. And again, now you're looking at this going, if you're Richard Pitino, would I rather be a Lobo or a Wolf? I think it's fairly obvious that you would rather be a Wolf.
He would
not
have
a Lobo.
He would have red and black in the wardrobe already.
Yes.
So makes it easy.
But can't you also see like NC State working through this and being like, if you use your brain on this one, because I'm not going to pretend to have an insight on this other than the person who shared it with me.
Yeah.
If you think about it and you're thinking in terms of the administration, if they're saying, I have reservations about someone who's been involved in an NCAA issue in Will Wade, and then Justin Gainey's presented. Now, Justin's an assistant, right? And if you're the administrator, you might come back and say, administrator maybe is the new chancellor. You might come back and say, I would prefer someone who's been a head coach.
Yeah.
Well, that might be one of those quote unquote compromises, right? But I think, I honestly think this comes down to what are Will Wade's options. We know that they're going to be playing Clemson in the NCAA tournament. We know that Texas is now in the NCAA tournament. Texas could still fire their coach. They could lose in the first 4.
Yeah,
They play Xavier.
That's entirely possible.
They could lose on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I think all along, Will is a patient person. Will is a smart man.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean he can't be NC State's coach. It just means he wants to know what his options are.
So there's a...
And by the way, Joe, it's not a bad thing.
What?
Like State fans who are like ready for this thing to be over, as if it's been going on forever, or who are feeling impatient,
Mhm.
or who are feeling like, oh, it's already done, or it's not done, or oh, it's gonna happen. Like, just deep breaths, let the thing play out, and we'll see how the chips fall. I think they have 3 good options.
This is a very pivotal hiring cycle for the ACC. We've already seen 2 positions filled with questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another reason why this NC State search, along with Virginia,
Yes,
is of great interest to the league right now. You know, we're just coming out of the ACC tournament. You spend a lot of time talking to people while you're hanging around in the building. I mean, that's why we go.
Yeah.
We go. I mean, yes. Is it really cool to be able to sit behind the visiting bench and hear the parents complaining?
Who asked us? Who did we blow?
Yeah,
to get those
right.
seats?
Yeah. Who do we get? What do we have? Did we have to go Fire Festival in order to get those seats? Right.
$8.
What? Hey man, $20 is $20. So the point is,
Diet Coke.
you go there because you get to talk to people
Yes.
in person. Remember that?
Yes.
Remember that? Not texting, not DMing. Hey, what up? Joey
Hey-o.
King. Yeah, Joey King's in the concourse. What up? Right? So you start to talk to people around the league. And I'm talking like people who cover the league, national people who pay attention, and people within the league. And I think there's been like some understanding of how the hiring cycle would go at a place like Miami or Florida State. All right. Going with new young coaches.
Sure.
In,
And secondary in their pecking order,
yes,
in terms of what their school has prioritized.
absolutely.
Miami, Florida State, both football schools.
Football school. So Jay Lucas, hey man, that's as you like to say, a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
If Jay works out, man, hey,
Awesome.
get it for a couple of years. He might be a head coach somewhere else before not too long if he does really well at Miami.
Good. Yeah.
Or Michael Jordan could hire him for the Wizards. Oh wait, no, sorry, that was
Different.
Lenny Ham. That was Lenny Ham.
Different.
My dad's still mad about that, by the way. My dad was still mad
Lenny
about
Ham
that.
had it running at Miami. Are you kidding?
So hot about Michael
Yeah.
Jordan taking him to the Wizards. And then Luke Laux, making me feel old.
Mhm.
But again, same situation. Virginia and State are different.
And Richard Pitino also in play for Virginia, by the way.
Yes.
Yes.
So
As is Ryan Odom, obviously.
Virginia and NC State are different.
And
in
did
that-
you see that Villanova came open?
I saw that.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Speaking of those conversations, that
Yeah.
was one of them. When
Yeah.
I had asked about Odom,
Yeah.
you know, one of my sources was like, I'm pretty sure he's holding out for that Villanova job. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, all right then.
Because we had a bunch of Virginia people down there who were like, yeah, you know, Odom and the Virginia people also do like Boo Corrigan because I think he actually communicates with them as opposed to the NC State people. That's my understanding of the room anyway.
All right. Stay petty, I guess. As I was saying, though, Virginia and NC State are important hires for the league, important brands for the league when it comes to basketball, especially after what Tony Bennett had been able to do to elevate it with a national championship and everything else. I mean, we don't need to get into a deep dive of what Virginia basketball has been historically. Not the point. Tony brought it up. NC State, we know when NC State in basketball, as we saw last year, is running hot. Hey, man, that's good for business. It's good for our business, good for the ACC, all that stuff. So this ties into a conversation that ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips clearly had back in the winter meetings about where things are going with House, the money that is required to spend in order to be competitive. And it also ties into a conversation we had at the ACC tournament regarding NC State's job and NC State money and whether or not the Final Four run recalibrated what the money wants to do and what kind of bang for your buck are you going to get when you help fund a roster, whether through NIL or through House. What are you going to get for 3, 4, 5 million versus what you would a drop in the bucket in football when you're trying to compete with everybody else, right? And I think that's why I get the NC State fan obsession over Will Wade. And we're doing this thing. I was talking to Kyle Bailey at WFNZ. I visited WFNZ while we were out in Charlotte, and he was trying to get on State fans about this. I'm like, dude, Panther fans did the same thing with all 8 of their coaching searches in the last 3 years, right? Like you get singularly focused on a guy.
You want who you want.
And then if they don't get it, well, it's going to be a disappointment because you've convinced yourself this is the guy that you want. So that's where we're at with NC State. And the other reason why I think Will Wade is important here is that Will Wade is that dude that understands where we are right now, which is why he's being judicious, why he's taking his time. Because now that we're not in the stupid FBI investigation era, and you can actually make strong ass offers above the table, well, yeah, man. If I'm Jim Phillips, I'm thinking that may actually be a good fit, and NC State could be good, and that's good for business. All right. Now, the one thing about Will Wade that I wanted to address, because I've seen this enough this weekend, and Gregg Doyel wrote one of the worst fucking columns I've ever read from Gregg Doyel, and that's saying something.
I missed this. So.
I like Gregg. Okay.
2 G's. Yes.
I've known Gregg for a really long time, and he's been incredibly helpful over the years, but I got no problems. And I tweeted at Gregg respectfully, this is not 2017. And he wrote this column in the Indy Star basically saying, hey, Indiana, hey, NC State, you're showing your character if you go after somebody like Will Wade. And I just thought to myself, dude, it's not 2017. And then I saw a lot of folks responding to that tweet saying, well, he's still a cheater. I'm like, whoa. What exactly what was he doing then that would be illegal now? Can somebody explain that to me like I'm 5? Also, the other thing I want to make abundantly clear, when he says, I made a strong ass offer, I'm sorry, was Adidas competing against itself? Was Adidas throwing out money and bidding against itself? Like, let's put some critical thought here. The FBI investigation was one of the dumbest things because it basically acted on the idea that only one shoe company was handing out money. No. Okay. So let's think critically about what exactly Will Wade was doing that's bad in today's environment. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Also,
if you want to get into a morality clause, all right, well then bring up Chris Beard. But not this.
How about Gregg being in Indiana, home of John Wooden, who famously built a dynasty off of players that were bought and paid for by Sam Gilbert?
Yes.
Do we ever mention that?
No, we never mentioned that.
No.
Also, let's take state out of it. Indiana with the morals. I mean, how many chances did Bobby Knight get? Let's be real.
We'll throw a ball at you. I'm going to choke the fuck out of you. Yeah, I'm going to slap you around. I'm going to throw a chair on the floor.
I'm going to tell Connie Chung, hey.
Yeah, I'll just sit back and relax and enjoy it.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
So, like, this whole battle, hey, no, Indiana, hey, do you really want to do this? Well,
actually.
Yes.
Wait, no. Did we win? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. What
Hey,
you talking about?
when things were running, when things started to drop off with Bobby Knight, how'd that work out for him? Now we have the moral compass to get rid of him. Okay. Like, so I read that Doyle column and it was like, dude, keep up. This is not the droid you're looking for, or Will Wade. And this is not about like defending Will Wade,
how about
NC State,
Bill
whatever.
Self winning a national championship
And sticking it
And
in the
not
NCAA's
ear
or the ear.
Oh my God.
But yeah, somebody suggested a t-shirt for us.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
It's so good.
That's a good one. We're gonna have to do that.
Okay,
actually.
okay.
That might be the next.
I
that
didn't
might
know
be
if
the-
you saw it. I didn't know if you
that
saw
might,
it.
that actually might be the next shirt drop. Actually, when we're done with the Year of the Wolf thing,
Mhm.
the Year of the Hangover, we might have to do that one off. Just a thought. Just a thought. Anyway, sorry, I got
to you
sorry,
as well.
sorry. I got into a tangent.
Well, look at
on the
you
Gregg-
still reading number 1.
What?
It's impressive.
I mean, what do you mean?
I don't read. I mean,
I still read. It's like
I'm just saying it's
show-
impressive.
It's show prep.
No, I know, but it's impressive.
Okay. I couldn't get through the column though. It was so sanctimonious and so
Yeah,
out of touch. That's the thing that got me. Anybody who's mad at the Will Wade thing is so completely out of touch with where we are and what that was about. Which, to stay consistent,
Now,
what?
the only reason I would say specific to NC State.
Okay.
Randy Woodson and Boo Corrigan were involved in an NCAA investigation where they had to spend a lot of money to get NC State out of trouble.
But that was at the time.
I get that.
And that's what
but
they
I'm
had to
saying
do.
is those are real people who had a real experience.
Totally get it.
So I'm not justifying that their trepidation. I'm just saying I can understand, given what they've been through,
Mhm.
that their interest would be in maybe another candidate.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I'm not saying it in a way to be like tut. I'm just saying I can understand if I was Randy Winston, if I was Boo Corrigan, and I had to do all of these things,
Well, Randy,
I would try to run the cleanest possible search I could. That's all.
Randy's
That's all.
on the way out.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
And Boo needs to make a strong ass job offer at this point. Okay.
I think they have. To be clear.
Let me
They
you're
made
right.
a
Let me
strong-ass
rephrase.
offer.
Let me rephrase. Boo needs to make a strong ass hire. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
And look, I get it. Justin, you can support Justin Gainey all day in terms, and I'm with you. Okay, we'll look at his eye for talent, get the right support around. I'm with you on that. Same thing with, I guess, Ryan Odom. I don't know about the Richard Pitino thing, but that might just be I want my name in the chat.
But isn't it like
but
Carolina football needed to be dragged, and it was the name of Bill Belichick that they needed to get that money and get that commitment.
So what is Will Wade?
Maybe Will Wade is their Bill Belichick,
that's what it is.
and they need that name to get the money and to get the commitment. And if that's the case,
yeah, to me, this
all
is
the more to it.
This is to me a no-brainer. If Will Wade can be convinced to come to NC State, do it. Everything else goes out the window because that's what the ACC needs, man. Because I got to imagine, and we didn't have a chance to talk to. I'll write my thoughts on this. We did not have a chance to talk to Jim Phillips on the record while we were at the ACC tournament. I briefly spoke to Jim Phillips, but it was mainly a like, "Hey, how's your kid doing in junior hockey?" Like all that kind of stuff. You know, the usual like family, how you doing, yada 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 stuff, right? We're efforting. I think the plan right now is to get a hard date. We'll actually invade their offices and set up the remote studio at the ACC offices. But I would love to ask him, you know, football is clearly the priority, but there seems to be, because of this real cold water moment the ACC has had the last 2 years with the NCAA tournament, and seeing where college basketball is now, and people are very proud of the ACC's heritage in basketball. How do you fix it? And I've said this before, and I've been critical of Jim Phillips when it comes to messaging in the past, but he understood the assignment the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
He has understood the assignment, and you might disagree with his approach. You might not agree with some of the things he says, or you think, oh, well, he flubbed this. I know people go to the college football playoff time, and I guess he didn't have a super clean appearance on ESPN. Like he got some names wrong or whatever it was. I don't care.
They got 2 teams in.
They got 2 teams in, right?
Including one over Alabama.
He said the right things about ACC basketball last year. And obviously at the winter meetings, as you and I know, there was a push to get basketball to up its game.
Yes.
And look at every possible way to understand the metrics, schedule right, and get in. But you have to have coaches and a program and programs win. And that was the problem this year.
Got to have talent, too.
You got to have talent, and you got to win basketball games. And how do you win basketball games? You need to have the talent. And you look at the SEC with 14 teams in, which we'll get to in a second. How does that work out?
Including a bunch of transfers from the ACC.
Weird. Totally weird. Anyway, got on a little bit of tangent there thanks to Gregg Doyel with 2 G's. Big thanks to 2 Roosters. When NC State hires a coach, will we get a buy one, get one?
I hope so.
I mean, that's
Poor Jared. Why are we putting a pox on Jared for their winless road record this year?
Jared has to do something like, look, guys, totally saw what happened with basketball, but here's where we're going to get you. A BOGO when they hire a coach. Celebrate whenever it is an NC State hires a coach. It doesn't matter who it is. You can celebrate with 2 Roosters and eat, or you could eat your feelings because it wasn't the coach you wanted. And like, get yourself a pint of something and just sit on the couch, eat your feelings, and then get over it.
I've been out of the greater Raleigh area, so Tuesday will be a 2 Rooster day.
Fair enough. Check them out, 2roosters.com. While I was in Charlotte, I saw a lot of people rocking the home field jackets. I saw a true sicko on Friday for the Duke Carolina game in an NC State bomber. I thought it was hilarious. And I went up to him like, you are a true sicko. They explained to me, I've been to 30 straight ACC tournaments and I'm not going to stop.
Yeah. And rep your school,
salute,
man.
and repping the school. So I saw a few NC State folks out there.
Just like the Carolina people I saw at the Final Four. I went up to all of them and said, respect, man.
That's
Rep
what-
your school.
Rep your school. And you can rep your school with our friends at Homefield. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG24 if you haven't used it yet. Or, I don't know, just use another email. And you can save 15% off your order. They've got the March. They got the hoops collection with like, it's got like, it's a box. And
Yes.
you can get like, it's like the UNC and the Duke ones come with a hoodie, 2 throwback tees, and a little mini basketball. It was pretty cool.
Mhm.
And their boxes are fantastic, right? So the Legends of March, what did I do? What did I say? Somebody say something in the comments?
You're good. You're good. I made it.
Okay.
Not with the drink in my mouth. Come on.
Fair enough. Look, man, like I said, I am so hype on caffeine right now.
Yeah, apparently.
I am so hype on caffeine right now. I don't even know what I'm doing. Don't even know what I'm doing. Home field. That's where I was.
It's perfect because it's home field.
And I saw my dad this weekend.
Did you?
Yeah, my dad didn't understand that he kept hitting me with all sorts of like,
Oh,
what?
did you see the St. Joseph's cake I put on? I don't know how to tag people on Instagram.
My dad, you know who showed me?
Your dad.
My dad.
Perfect.
Did. My
Perfect.
dad did.
I need to get one for Hernando, actually, because
Okay.
they're delicious. They're not a sponsor, but the place I found them, I was like,
Nice.
the dude was at his little counter, like writing checks.
Yeah.
So I could tell he was the dude. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, my grandma used to make these for me. I don't have anybody to make these for me anymore. These are unbelievable. Thank you.
My dad was not understanding that, especially on Saturday, because I got up at 4:30.
Yeah, you were out the door. I should have asked you today, like, what time did you leave? Because I vaguely remember you leaving.
Yeah.
But I'm just like,
So I didn't get in. So after the Duke Carolina game, I pumped out all the content, sent off some stuff to Dane. Like, hey man, can we turn these things around? Because I'm going to be on the road tomorrow. Appreciate you. Thanks. Of course, it's his wedding shower day. And I was like, ooh, he's like, no, don't worry. I'll knock something out before the wedding shower. I'm like, all right, man, appreciate it.
true pro.
He's a true pro, man. So he knocks out some content, whatever. So I didn't get to bed until like 12:30 because I went to hospitality to grab something to eat real quick. I shared a bourbon with our guy, Mitch Northrum. And then I got back to the Airbnb. And then I zonked out because you saw me. I was pumping some stuff out. I think it was like 12:30, 12:45. Woke up at 4:30, kind of sat there, zombie state, showered at 5, on the road by 5:35. And I got to Jacob's game within the first 3 minutes of the first period.
Nice.
And of course, my dad starts hitting me with 20 questions after the game. I'm like, Dad, I've been up since 4:30. I am not in the mood. And I just drove 6 hours. Or I'm sorry, 5 hours and 38 minutes. Can this wait?
Cats in the cradle, Joey.
Yeah, cats in the cradle, Joey. Cats in the cradle. There's your home field trauma dump, ladies and gentlemen. State Farm. Matt
I
Davis.
keep trying to make it your birthday. It's not yet, though.
And Wednesday. It's okay. I did not see Matt in Charlotte. You saw Matt?
I did.
You saw
Yes, he was down
Matt.
Thursday.
Good weekend for Matt.
Huge.
Huge weekend for Matt.
Dude, it could be a huge hockey game for you on 325. It's a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
7:00 game. Show me a quote from Matt Davis and State Farm. InsureGarner.com. Email it to me, Giglio.joe@gmail.com.
And you can check them out at InsureGarner.com or call them directly at 919-779-8277. And of course, our friends at Whitaker and Hamer, check them out, WH.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. I might have to talk to them about writing a contract for my dad, between my dad and me, that just simply says, hey man, it's not time for 20 questions.
May 3rd is our birthday, though. We'll be at Shady's in Garner. Come see us.
That will be a good time.
Come celebrate.
Yeah, we got to put some information out about that, but we will be doing it again for birthday number 2. Lightning Round is brought to you by our friends at Sam Jones. You thinking about catering some NCAA tournament watch parties at the office? Hey, Sam Jones can handle that for you. Or you're just looking for a night out. By all means, hit up Sam Jones in downtown Raleigh and in Greenville. Let's get the lightning round going with Cooper Flagg and Duke. We spent all this time talking about North Carolina. Should they have been in? Should they have been out? We've talked about NC State and their coaching search. Small rant about Gregg Doyel. But oh yeah, Duke, a number 1 seed. Auburn's the overall number 1. I don't see why anybody would have a problem with it, given Auburn's record the SEC putting 14 teams in, and they were the top team. Makes sense. Duke, no question about them being a number one. The question for Duke, though, is when are we actually going to see Cooper Flagg and in what capacity? So I know that Cooper Flagg coming out of the ACC tournament, John Shire made it abundantly clear on Friday night, he is not playing on Saturday in the championship game. As I said throughout the ACC tournament, they did not need Cooper Flagg or Malik Brown to win the ACC championship, and voila, they ended up handling Louisville on Saturday. Con Knipple, your MVP. So the question now is, when will we see Cooper Flagg and in what capacity? At this rate, what I would do, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I am just a podcaster.
Not a banker.
I'm not a banker, I'm just a podcaster.
Got to find that clip.
I know.
You got to get it for me.
I'll see if
I love it.
I think I can go find it. Regardless, do you need Cooper Flagg in a 116 game? No, you don't. But do you need to test the ankle?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So what I would envision happening for Cooper Flagg is he starts, probably plays till the under 12, maybe the under 8, see how it goes.
Of the second half, you mean?
No, first half.
Okay.
Then take him out. See how he reacts.
Okay.
And then, depending on your matchup on what they play Sunday,
Friday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm. See how he feels, see how he reacts, and then give it a go on Sunday. Could they get to the Sweet 16 without Cooper Flagg?
Love it when you go full Butch Davis. Of course they can.
Okay. But I think they need to play him.
Yes.
Because you got to test the ankle.
No, I'm laughing because
What are you laughing at?
the real gorgeousness of the Raleigh regional, Raleigh first and second rounds is Danny Hurley finally gets to see Cooper Flagg in person.
Ew.
I mean, you want to talk about somebody who is gripping it. It's just going to make him explode.
Yeah.
It's just going to make him explode. And I can't wait for that.
Well, what's funny
Because
is
Jersey recognizes Jersey.
I
I know what bothers people from New Jersey. And you got to know that bothers that guy to this day.
Hold on a second. Again, we're doing this live today.
So UConn is the 8. If you don't know, Florida is the 1. They're the 1. They'll be in Raleigh. And 8-9 is Oklahoma, UConn. Oklahoma certainly could beat UConn, but I think it would just be better to see Danny Hurley loses mind just by having to stick around the whole weekend to see Cooper Flagg and Duke. Now they're on the other side of the river.
Yeah,
I get that. Baylor always seems to be a canary in the coal mine for Duke's national title teams, though. I'm misremembering 2015. I thought it was Utah.
Yeah,
that they beat in 2015.
So let's see here. What are you reading here for Duke then?
Oh, I would play him. I would just play him in the first game.
No. What I'm saying, I'm with you on that.
Oh, no,
I say you play him. I'm saying, what do you see though for Duke?
There's always Duke got the toughest bracket.
Okay.
They got the toughest regional that I've seen in a long time for the number 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Alabama is the best 2 because Alabama can't be with Auburn, right? They can't be with Florida.
By the way, that was a question that Bubba Cunningham received that we didn't air, but there was a conversation about, hey man, it's a numbers crunch. You're going to put 14 SEC schools in. Well, you can't avoid some of these early matchups.
But you do protect Auburn and Alabama and Florida
Absolutely.
from those things.
Yep.
So Alabama is one of the teams that is capable of knocking Duke out of this tournament. Alabama, the way that they play offensively, is a team that can beat Duke. Alabama defensively is a team that could potentially lose to Bob Morris in the first round of this game. Cam Woods, by the way, Wolfpack legend playing for Bob Morris. Wisconsin is the best 3 in my opinion. Arizona for life.
So that's okay. Finally. This
is the 4.
Yes.
BYU as a 6. BYU is a dangerous team. So you've got Alabama, Whiskey, Arizona, BYU. Those are 4 teams that are all capable of beating Duke.
This is what I want. I want one more.
I
want another for life matchup in the Sweet 16. Please put that in my veins.
Now, I don't know if it's another lightning round number, but I have 3 upsets to watch. Number 1 is Colorado State over Memphis.
Hold on. If we're going to move on.
Well, they just so happen to be in this bracket. That's
okay.
My 3 upsets to watch. Colorado State over Memphis. Memphis is banged up. Colorado State has been balling. Absolutely balling. Akron is the 13 with for life. Obviously, a lot of people are going to want to see Arizona move on and maybe get that other look at Arizona, Caleb Love against Duke. Akron's a really, really good team. And then Robert Morris, they're a really good team. Alabama's just going to outscore a lot of people. That's one of those teams that they will. That's a 15-2. I'm just saying those are the 3 higher seeds if you're looking for some value and some numbers. Colorado State, Akron, and Bob Morris.
Topics stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
So you mentioned Danny Hurley and the Cooper Flagg thing. Okay. He gets to watch him in Raleigh. Fantastic. I am curious, given a coach who has won back-to-back national championships, has been kind of an afterthought this year in college basketball, other than controversial moments, his antics and the 60-minute special and everything else. Are we headed towards a Dan Hurley blow up? Are we going to see a moment like with officiating? Is he going to make a scene at a press conference? They get out early and he gets some tough questions and he's not going to like the tough question. Like, are we set up to watch a man break? Because that's kind of been the season for Hurley at UConn this year.
Never forget Bob Knight at Texas Tech lost the game down in Winston-Salem and walked home from the arena.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are squarely in play for Danny Hurley to be on a walkabout to leave the Lenovo Center to going downtown to the Marriott where they're likely staying.
Yeah.
Yes, that is absolutely in play.
So I bring up Hurley because on the other side in his conference, he has been one-upped by one Rick Pitino.
Overshadowed.
It's really hard, man, when you've won back-to-back national championships and Connecticut is like one of those unofficial New York teams, if you will. And obviously they get the ESPN love because it's all connected, right? Then you find out, oh, that's what a real star is.
That's what a real G is.
That guy has everybody not rooting for him, but he has the attention. He has the spotlight. Rick Pitino is the most, because he's a throwback. This doesn't exist anymore. He is the most recognizable coach in the field. And he's in New York with an old program that used to run hot and has all those old Big East connections and a bunch of retired firemen that can tell you all sorts of stats from 30 years ago. I mean, I witnessed it in that one Big East game I went to St. John's versus Creighton. And I heard all these like retired servicemen just waxing poetic about St. John's. And now they're here, right? They just win the Big East tournament and they have a legitimate shot at winning the NCAA tournament. So,
and they're not with Auburn.
No,
they're not with Duke.
No,
it's good.
Is bracket luck real for Rick Pitino? Do we got a ticket for Rick Pitino?
We have too many tickets.
Of course you do. Of course you do. But what I'm saying is that
you know what I really
Hurley's
want?
going to look at like that man in that white suit and all of his baggage, and this man, he can do no wrong right now, and they love him.
He has not busted out the wetsuit. I would love to see on one side in San Antonio, Tom Izzo and Sparty and Rick Pitino, St. John's on one side, and then maybe Duke and Houston on the other. I would enjoy that. Maybe or Kentucky. Kentucky's not healthy, but
this is also a long windup to my offer to you. For instance, at the beginning of the show, we were talking about San Diego State and whether or not it will settle an argument regarding does a bad loss affect you?
Yeah, Boise State. Yeah,
Boise State. Don't do anything stupid. Boise State did something stupid.
Yes.
Okay.
Boston College.
If
pulling the ACC through.
If you're a
That's how I look.
If you're a back-to-back national champion at UConn who has multiple national champions and nobody really gives a shit about you, are you a blue blood, Joe? Are you a blue blood? Carolina's clearly a blue blood because look at all the conversation we're having about North Carolina.
You know how I feel about this. I've decided that UConn is not a blue blood.
Okay.
But I would still rather be UConn than any other program.
It's the difference between you and blue bloods.
You and
ain't
me.
the same.
We ain't the same.
You ain't the same. But I really do think this is like a real sobering march for Hurley.
He's got
an incredibly sobering march for Hurley.
I might have to challenge myself to go to a press conference. Well, that require me getting credentialed.
Yeah, too late for that, probably. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I would just want one Cooper Flagg question because it has to eat away at his soul that he's won 2 national titles. He's got a player from his relative backyard, and he still can't get him.
All right, let's actually talk about the SEC. 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. Greg Sankey's basically playing the same playbook that he uses for SEC football to go and get that mark, right? And metrics-wise, they are historically one of the best conferences to have played. Don't believe me? Let's go to the Ken Palm, shall we? 1997, the 96-97 ACC season is, by Ken Palm metrics, the greatest season in conference history, followed by the 2025 SEC season. And then, of course, we've got the 2024 Big 12 season. Now, fun fact, 1997 as stacked, but by the way, another thing that kind of stuck out to me, look how many times the ACC shows up in this best conference seasons of all time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 50% ACC. However, in 1997, was there an ACC NCAA champion?
No. Had the best team in Carolina, but they did not win the championship. Arizona, not only did Arizona win the national championship, they absolutely broke Roy Williams' heart because that was his best Kansas team.
Ken Palm laid this out on his Substack. Carolina, 1 seed, lost in the Final Four. There's no shame in getting in the Final Four, by the way.
No.
None whatsoever. Duke was a 2 seed. They lost in the second round. Wake Forest was a 3 seed. They lost in the second round. Clemson, a 4 seed, lost in the Sweet 16. Maryland, the 5 seed, lost in the first round. Virginia, 9, lost in the first round. 2024 Big 12, fresh in our minds. We spoke about it a lot last year. A refresher. Houston, a number 1 seed, lost in the Sweet 16. Iowa State, a 2 seed, lost in the Sweet 16. Baylor, second round. Kansas, second round. Texas Tech, first round. BYU, first round. Texas, second round. TCU, first round. Not a great showing for the Big 12 last year. And of course, that was marked by the ACC with all the consternation about their metrics. Not as good as the Mountain West, Joe. Not as good as the Mountain West. Obviously, NC State's run and everything else, and Clemson also had a nice run too, which gets us to this year's SEC. Are you taking the SEC or the rest of the field?
I think Florida and Auburn have a clean look at winning the national championship. I do. I suspect Duke wins this tournament, though. I do.
I want to pick Duke.
Okay.
I want to, but Cooper Flagg's ankle injury worries me, as does the Malik Brown injury. Now, the Malik Brown injury more so as they get deep into the tournament, and you're going to see an SEC squad. You know what I'm saying? So, and Malik Brown is going to be it could affect that because it gets to the depth on defense that they have. The one thing that I think is an advantage for Duke more so than anybody else is they do go deep, man. We saw this at the ACC tournament. Now, I know what the immediate thought is, and this is where my worry is. While they might be deep and they have a National Player of the Year and a Defensive Player of the Year and they get great defensive metrics, is the ACC. And to their credit, they didn't goof around in the ACC, right? Like losing at Clemson is not a bad thing per se. And also teams do regress a little bit. So it gets back to the same argument we had about the Big 12 last year. It's great what you did in November and December and the early parts of January, but how are your teams playing now? And all the math has been baked at that point. The cake has been baked by the time you get to conference season. And that obviously helps your numbers. And we get in these weird situations where you have teams with losing conference records getting into the ACC and getting into the NCAA tournament. Duke and the ACC in general, the one thing that was different about this year versus last year is that the top teams didn't do anything dumb, really. And that includes North Carolina, by the way. For the most part, in conference play, they didn't do anything dumb relative to where they were as a bubble team.
Didn't lose to Boston College, even though it went to overtime.
There is that.
And apparently that was the deciding factor.
I guess this is one of let's keep receipts here. Do we want to use the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 as the measuring stick for this?
For this?
For the SEC and 14
I'm
teams.
just gonna be honest with you. I hate that you're talking about the ACC this year. Or
I'm
the
talking
SEC?
about the SEC, 14 schools. What's the final tally? And I know they have to play each other along the way, but what's the final tally? out of the 14.
I mean, if they have more than 4 in the Sweet 16, that's a success.
I agree.
Obviously, anytime you have more than 1 in the Final Four, it's a success.
But again, we have to put this in the context of what the SEC is trying to tell you.
Yeah.
This is the greatest season of basketball we've ever seen. Nobody can stop these teams.
And again,
So
in
what's the
85,
measurement?
the Big East had 3 at the Final Four. That will always be the gold standard to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if they had 4 in the Sweet 16 and then 2 in the Final Four and the champion, then all of a sudden you can talk about a conversation. But ultimately, the SEC's problem is they don't have enough teams who can score when it matters. Now, Alabama can score when it matters. Florida can score when it matters. Auburn, they're going to need to prove it to me. Okay. Some of these other teams, Tennessee, I mean, they just defend like somebody owes them money. And I would love to see Rick Barnes get to the Final Four because I feel like he's one of those coaches who doesn't get his due.
Yeah.
And obviously it hasn't happened at Tennessee. I do like the bracket that Tennessee is in. I do think of the SEC teams who could be the second in the Final Four. I prefer Tennessee's path to Auburn's just because I don't trust Auburn to score when they have to score.
That's going to wrap it up for the lightning round. We thank Sam Jones for being the lightning round sponsor.
Like a regular episode, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it is going to be
tomorrow's.
It will be tomorrow's episode.
Tomorrow's episode today. How you like that?
Funny how
Tell
that works
me, future boy.
How does this work out for you? I'll tell you what.
Who's the president in 1985?
I'll tell you who can see into the future. Our guy Gordon Miller over at Miller Lending. He has a pretty good read on how interest rates are going. And right now, he is very, very positive with how things are going up with the interest rates. And it might be time for you to finally refinance. Maybe not necessarily refinancing because you're getting these rates that are 2020 rates, right? We're not talking rates in the 3s or whatever. But they've gotten low enough to make you go, all right, might be time to cash out some home equity here. Because let's think about this. Situations change. It's not always about getting the lowest rate in history or whatever it is. Sometimes your own situation changes. And as we know, debt is piling up. I can point to any number of studies and stories about how the American consumer is riddled with credit card debt. Hello, I just finished a travel hockey season, Joe. Would you like to see the bills for that? So the point is, you might look at it from the situation of, hey, man, I've accrued a lot of debt and these credit card interest rates suck. You know, it doesn't suck. A much lower rate with a home refinance. And that's where Miller Lending comes into play. So contact them today, 919-447-3377, or just go to their website, millerlending.com/the-OG. That is our official landing page. And when you start the process with Miller Lending and you get that thing closed, you will get a gift basket from the Raleigh Wine Shop.
We do need to be here tomorrow. All right, we can do it Tuesday.
What did I miss?
We're having a wine basket delivered.
Oh, well, I mean, I'll be up here. We're just not doing a show.
I know, but I want to do it like we did the other day, and it kind of flustered you. I like that. I like it when you get
If you really want to fluster, bring my dad up here. Ask me 20 questions. That'll get me flustered.
You're still feeling that one, huh?
Yeah, I'm annoyed. I'll see him on Wednesday for my birthday.
Cats in the cradle, Joe.
Yeah, cats in the cradle indeed. Anyway, back to Miller Lending.
Yeah.
Contact them. Tell them we sent you.
MillerLending.com/the-OG.
NMLS 250-2146. Big thanks to our friends at O2 Fitness. With the hockey season over and the basketball season over, that means beige food intake is about to go away, and I got to start sweating this stuff out. And it starts with trips to O2 Fitness. Check them out, o2fitnessclubs.com. Renew Physiotherapy is also there for you, as well as Loop Nutrition to make those better eating choices. But we also know as you get older, it's a little bit more difficult to do this stuff, and that's where their partnership with Thrive comes into play. Local. It's telehealth. Go to their website, livethrive.co, and start getting into the process about finding out oral testosterone treatments and weight loss options. Again, that's all at livethrive.co. And of course, O2 Fitness. It is more than gym.
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
Now, speaking of making those eating choices, as I mentioned, beige food season is out the door, which means I'm having a full Happy Inhale week to detox.
That reminds me.
What do we got?
We had a winner.
Oh, nice. Oh, for the card?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here's what you do. Download the app. Use the promo code OG25. You get a one-time 25% off with the promo code when you use the app. And of course, screenshot this. Send it to us. And you'll be in the running for the card. But here's the other thing, though. I like round numbers. And shockingly, when you have a coaching search and you have the ACC tournament and you have angry people about UNC, guess what? The subscriber numbers on YouTube go up.
Okay.
So
That's a good thing.
We're getting close to 9,000 subscribers, which means we got to start the countdown for subscriber 9,999.
Wow, that's weird. I wonder what that number might.
So let's go for that. That's another prize we're going to do. But in the meantime, have I vamped long enough, Joe?
Yeah, I texted. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
I got a winner.
Good.
We got winners.
We got winners. But there's another way to do it with the card. That's what I was waiting for, to show the card.
The executive black card. 20% for life. The Caleb Love black card.
For life. Big thanks to 1-800-Plumber and Air. Contact them today, 1-800-Plumber.com. 24/7 service, upfront pricing, no games, no gimmicks. That's what you need when it comes to these service companies. And 1-800-Plumber can help you with that, both with the plumbing side and, of course, with the HVAC side. It's going to get warmer out there. You might want to get that thing kind of serviced before the heater flips over to pumping out that cool air. Make sure everything's working right. So contact our friends over at 1-800-Plumber and Air. And, of course, bugsbite.com. Check them out, Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. As it gets warmer, the pollen's out, which means the bugs are going to be out, which means the mosquitoes aren't too far away. Start thinking about your summer treatments today with our friends over at bugsbite.com. Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe, which really is about the OG sports phone. The OG sports phone has been popping because of North Carolina getting into the NCAA tournament.
919-444-2211. Call the OG sports phone and curse or don't.
All right, let's go to a 704.
Hey guys, it's Paul. Cry more, Quad 1 losers. Cry fucking more. Suck on that. The committee just told you Quad 1 wins doesn't matter as much as not losing your Quad 2 through Quad 4 games. So suck it, Quad 1 losers. Suck it, SEC's 15th team. Suck it. And also, glad that the lane violation will not be the last thing Jalen Withers does in a North Carolina uniform. That would have been real sad. We're dancing in Dayton, baby. We're dancing in Dayton. Time to go show that town who truly was first in flight. This North Carolina Tar Heel team. Let's go, baby!
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Paul, because I had some people on my timeline yesterday like, what about your theory now, Giglio? What about that axiom now, Giglio? To which I would turn the tables on those fans and say, excuse me, but if something good can happen to Carolina, it will.
Yeah.
Undefeated.
Here's wait. Let's consider something.
Defeated.
Let's consider something. Paul brings up, hey man, that's not going to be the last thing that
Which
we
is
remember.
great. That's
Jalen
awesome.
Withers, because this is back-to-back seasons that people have been mad at Jalen
At
Withers.
him. Yes. Which is part of my problem with Carolina fans.
I
Yes.
agree. Jalen Withers,
You're my family. I love you until you do something stupid. Then I don't love you anymore.
while I have thoughts on Hubert Davis's post game from Friday,
Yeah. Probably best that we don't
I'd-
go down that road.
it's not probably too because
You played the music and
I know.
yeah.
I know.
You can't get me fired back up.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. But what I would say is I would agree with Hubert Davis in that Carolina was not in this position to make the NCAA tournament without the
Oh.
play of Jalen Withers.
We got hot down the stretch. Come on.
His threes are key in all of this. However, Paul said that's not going to be the last thing. Well, this is another opportunity.
Right. Both ways. It goes both
It goes
ways.
both ways. That just means there's more opportunities for this to happen.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Never say
Now,
never say it can't get any worse while the season is happening.
I don't bring this up because, hey, man, what happened on Friday night sucked for Jalen Withers, man.
Yeah.
Just absolutely crushed watching all that unfold. But the gallows humor, the cynical side, the pure sicko of me says, yeah, well, it just means another opportunity. All right, to a 910 number.
Hey, Joe's State fan here. Had an all-time hate watch experience watching UNC play, and what I hoped was RJ Davis's last game, a loss to Duke on Friday in Charlotte. But the committee's going to committee, UNC's going to UNC. At least I got him for plus 325 on FanDuel to make the tournament. I mean, we all saw it coming. No matter the odds, pretty convenient. Their AD is the selection chair. Enjoy the podcast, guys.
Tell me there's anything better. Well, you could tell me, but tell me there's anything better than opening up your account and seeing those wins go through.
I'm the wrong. I am the wrong person to ask for that.
I know, but it was just like, oh wow, who could have possibly bet on North Carolina to make the tournament? Not me.
Oh, I saw your app change there. Interesting.
Yeah. They had the right odds.
I'm just being.
They had the right odds.
I'm just being petty. All right, to a 919.
You know what? Fuck it. Nothing matters anymore. House rules, baby. Who cares? There's no meaning to anything. Let's go Heels. This is the nihilist March Madness, baby. And yes, NC State fans, you're all right. Bubba did handpick, put us in there on his own, just as a favor. It is another incident of the North Carolina Athletic Association striking again just to put state fans down. You're all right. You all should be mad and you all should do something about it, but you can't. The capital R word, NC State searching for Giglio, is relevant.
That's actually pretty good. You know what? That's a reference to the whole capital R rivalry. That's a pretty good retort from
that's solid.
That's a very
I'm
solid.
telling you, my friend Josh Goodson put money on Carolina to make the Final Four like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Under the axiom of if something good can happen. That draw, man. Ole Miss, our guy Chris Beard.
Yeah.
They could easily beat Sean. They're not going to be intimidated by Sean Padula in Ole Miss. Iowa State is the 3. And then the bottom half, could you imagine Carolina playing Michigan State? Well, what happens when Carolina plays Michigan State in the NCAA tournament? Like, talk about a fever dream. It's been a minute since we've had a first 4 team go to the Final Four, but Carolina, it's in play.
One of these days, I'll tell you the UNC lore of Josh Goodson and why this is all kind of funny to me.
Yes.
All right, to another 919.
Bubba coming, buddy. Bubba.
Is it?
I mean,
just repeating his name.
Hey, if you're helping with the SEO, I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know, Bubba. It's kind of like what Cooper Flagg. Bubba. I'll take it. All right, 336.
Well, boys, the drought continues for North Carolina men's basketball. Another year without a championship. How many is it going to be? Is it 10 now? How many years has it been? It has been goddamn forever. Hubert Davis is not winning a championship anytime soon for the Tar Heels. It's sad what's become of North Carolina basketball. This is not the team I grew up watching. And it's going to get even fucking worse when Will Wade's beating that ass next year. Go Pack!
Okay, you know, I'm not going to lie. You had me in the first half. Not going to lie. Had me in the first half. They're, oh, wow. Like, I mean, I see where this is going. Okay, I understand. Oh, no. It was that guy the other day who was like, I'm going down Wade Avenue. And we're going to win one for the Got Man. And all that stuff. All right, I see you, man. I see you. I because we're live today, I am just raw dogging these.
I used to read Word Up magazine.
All right, another 919.
The fact that UNC got into the tournament should lead to Bubba Cunningham getting his butt thrown off of the selection committee. Oh, by the way, my name is Josh. I'm a Duke fan. I now live in Florida and have pulled for Duke my whole life. But that's much to the point. UNC does not even belong in the field. They should be going to the NIT, period. Aside from that, Duke, God bless them, Probably got what I would think would be one of the better draws, although it's obvious the committee wants to see Baylor and Arizona play us for the Jeremy Roach, Caleb Love angle. But I don't mind having Alabama in there. They can't play defense to save their lives, and we can. So I think we should be able to get to the Final Four unless there's some big hiccups or Cooper Flagg gets hurt again. But at the end of the day, yeah, I feel pretty happy about our draw. Feel bad for St. John getting Arkansas or Kansas in the second round, so that sucks for them. Other than that, enjoy listening to you guys' podcast and look forward to listening to this one. Thanks.
All right, man. Appreciate that.
I wouldn't worry about Arkansas or Kansas. You think Rick Pitino cares about John Calipari? Like, he's counting the days to play John Calipari. Are you kidding?
Cannot wait.
Like,
he cannot wait.
Like,
text came in from a 704. Bubba Cunningham has done. See, here it is. Bubba Cunningham has done more for the ACC than Boo Corrigan has done being heads of their respective committees. I'm telling you. That's part of this. That's part of this with the Bubba Cunningham thing, because Boo Corrigan had an opportunity if you buy into conspiracies. But I'm here to tell you, I don't. I believe the process is above board. They laid it out, okay? But to your point, though, Joe, relationships matter.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what played out.
People skills too. Carolina, by the way, 46-1 to make the Final Four. Tell me that's not a $5 gang scratcher. 46-1.
I have not logged into my DraftKings account in quite some time.
46-1.
It might be a $5 gang moment. I might do that. Actually.
Why not?
You know what
I'm saying.
I'm gonna take a Nature's Relief gummy tonight and open up the app and just see where it goes. See where my night goes. Thanks to Nature's Relief for sponsoring the OG Sports Run. All right, this is from 919.
Hey guys, this is a great question for you guys because you should know Giglio or Joey Giggs is a newspaper man and Ovies is a radio guy. Is it a requirement of the guys interviewing the committee chairs to be complete pussies on live television, or is that something that's just recently adopted? Thanks.
Those are their television partners.
Right.
They're not going to.
Well,
and I thought Seth Davis asked it in the right way. And you knew by the fact that there was a second person on the screen.
They knew
that it was going to have to be answered by someone else. I mean,
let me handle this.
Okay.
Let me handle this. It's Butch Davis story time. You brought up Butch Davis earlier. Okay. It's Butch. You did. You yeah, because you've been drinking ultras. Speaking of what's up with you. So Butch, back in the radio days, Adam Gold and I would get roasted because we would have Butch Davis on during the Great Troubles. So we were essentially told, you can ask, but it ain't going anywhere. So why would we waste our time asking him questions about the NCAA investigation if we knew it was eating up 2-3 minutes of our interview window? So let's talk about something else. And you don't have to use the interview to address it. Just like, hey guys, look, we know there's an investigation going on. We've made our opinions known, but we still talked to Butch. So here we go. Right. But there's this weird thing like, you need to go full Wu-Tang and put his nuts on a dresser with a spiked bat and go, wow. That's what you want.
It feels pretty aggressive.
But that's what people want. They want me to sew their butts tight and keep feeding you and feeding you and feeding you questions about this. That's what people want out of Bubba Cunningham. They want Seth Davis to go up there and go, wow. No, that's not how it works. So once we got to Pinehurst for ACC kickoff, the interview was not under the supervision of UNC. Therefore, Kevin Best, who was the SID at the time, couldn't say shit. And he knew that. And he told us, hey, man, ain't my show. It's the ACC show. And he's got to sit down with you guys. You're on the schedule. And that's when we asked Butch Davis very pointed questions in that situation. Very pointed questions. And Butch, who used to give filibuster answers, asked directly about certain things going, whoa, okay. So you're saying, what's up with this story time, Ovies? Well, the same thing happens here, to your point about television partners. In that setting, with very limited TV time, you cannot put Bubba's nuts on a dresser and hit it with a spiked bat. Now, could Matt Norlander ask him more pointed questions? Sure. But in a very condensed amount of TV, you have to be very smart in how you ask the question, which gets to how both Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis positioned it. I would have done the same thing that Seth Davis did. Hey, man, we all know the elephant in the room. You're the UNC AD. UNC was on that Summer Jam screen. They got in while these other schools not. You see where the conflict of interest is, and that basically opens the door. Well, this recently happened, by the way, when we talked to Rod Brindamore, where there's some Carolina fans who were so mad about Brent Burns. There's a way to ask the question to get the answer that you know is probably going to get around to, and that's what Seth Davis did. Same thing with Clark Kellogg. Hey, so I know you can't speak to Carolina right now, so explain to me the metrics.
Sure.
And if you want to get on Bubba for not really answering the question, so be it. But there's like a time and place situation here. And to your point, they're TV partners for a big TV show. They're not going to make themselves the story. So I get bothered
not if you want to do the show next year.
Right. And I get bothered by fans who are so apt to play. Okay, let's give
Have we seen Bonnie Bernstein since the 03?
Right.
Final Four?
But the other thing too is, okay, like imagine if we're like, hey, Bubba, here's the deal. We're gonna, hey, you want to come to the studio? And we're gonna bring a listener in. Because we can't ask you the hard questions. So this listener who's adamant that you gotta be asked these hard questions. It's one thing to do it on Twitter. It's one thing to do it in a comment section. It's one thing to do it on a message board. But when you sit down in the room with Bubba, I would love to see how that plays out. Love to see how that plays out. So is that what's going to happen? Nah, you're going to be like an actual adult. And that's what these things are. Adult conversations. Sorry, this is a triggering thing from a radio perspective because I've spent years hearing, that was a softball. Nah, man, there's a way to ask the question. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. I'm just saying there's ways to answer the question or ask the question. All right, next up, 919.
All I got to say is clearly Bubba knows how to grease the reels when he's on a committee, and Boo Corrigan don't. That's the Carolina way, baby.
I'm telling you. You always people like to say, oh, how's Ovies or how's Giglio going to make this about NC State? In this situation, you don't need to. You don't need to
do anything.
Right. You don't need to because ACC fans will do it for you. All right. From a 404.
Hey guys, Andy in Annapolis. Weird that UNC made it in with a net of 36 and a 1-12 quad one record. But in 2019, NC State with a net of 33 and a 3-9 record against quad one. And to do W out proud, 5 games against number 1 seeds and a win over the SEC champion that year was left out. Odd how that happens, huh? It's almost like not spreadsheets or rankings that end up making the decisions at the end of the day. Anyway, I guess it could be worse. Could be Oklahoma and Texas getting in with 6-12 conference records, which is embarrassing for the NCAA. But alas. Thanks for listening.
I explained that one earlier, but I can explain it again.
Yeah.
Carolina's strength of schedule was 4, which is a good number in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
NC State's strength of schedule in 2019 was 353, or dead fucking last in the entire country, which is a negative number in a bad way.
All right. We're coming up on 90 minutes of going live.
Okay.
I think my caffeine crash is about to occur.
Is anybody else? Any other ads that we missed?
No, we have
calls to action.
No, we're going to end on a positive note.
Okay.
We're going to end on a positive note. This is from a 704. Actually, this had come in.
Sean?
No.
You sure?
That's not Sean.
Okay.
He's an 804.
Oh, okay.
This is a 704.
Sorry, Sean. My bad, Sean.
So we're going to end on a positive. I actually had listened to this one earlier today when I was trying to see what we're going to do today. And of course, we got all the ones that came in with the reactions. So I was like, okay, we'll save this one. So we'll end on a positive note.
Bring it home.
Hey guys. First, I just wanted to say, love the show. Love what you guys are doing. Absolutely wonderful thing for everyone who loves triangle sports. So keep it up. Wanted to say something from a very particular Duke fan's perspective, because in your recap of the semifinals win against the Tar Heels, one of you mentioned the fact that Duke really showed out in Charlotte, and it was surprising that it was really a pro-Duke crowd. And that just warms my heart as a Duke fan from the Charlotte area. Grew up here, loved Duke ever since I was old enough to understand college basketball and what it was. Went to Duke, graduated in the early 2000s, was there when Jason Williams, Chris Duhon and Carlos Boozer were running things. And all my life, whenever we've played Carolina in Greensboro or Charlotte, it always felt like we were playing 6-on-5 because the crowd gave them so much energy. And last night was the first time I can remember that it really, really seemed to balance out or even tip in our favor. And that's just something that is hard for me to believe, just at my age and my life experience. And I want to give a special shout out to Isaiah Evans and Caleb Foster, because if you'd have told, college age me that we would be playing in an ACC tournament game and two kids who played high school basketball 20 minutes from the arena were giving a lift and getting the crowd into it, but it was Duke that you were saying that about, I would have never believed it. So it's interesting to see how the worm has turned over the years. And again, it just really, really warms my heart. And I enjoyed every second, especially those seconds I spent texting my buddies who were in the arena and are Carolina fans to remind them of that. Because I bet that was probably worth at least 5 percentage points in the split. If it was a 60-40 crowd, a 50-50 crowd, those two guys loving Duke and coming to play for our program made a huge difference. And for guys of my cohort who are Carolina fans, I guarantee you that burns their ass. And I love it. Go Duke.
I thought the call was interesting on a couple of fronts. It once again shows you the evolution of who's ahead of who in the Duke-Carolina rivalry. And this is yet another metric that you can now use because he makes a very good point. Charlotte, Carolina, and man, we know how it's been there for a long, long time. So to see a pro-Duke crowd in that building for a Duke-Carolina game was pretty eye-opening, including the Charlotte guys that he just mentioned too, right? And I also think that all of this ties into the general feelings about Hubert. They're in. Cool. If they don't make it to the Sweet 16, or they don't get out of Dayton, how do you think it's going to play, Joe?
Trick question. Because they're getting out of Dayton.
$5 gang stand up. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. Apologies. I was a little helter-skelter today, live on way too much caffeine. Driving in.
Why are you apologizing, man?
Because
it's part of the show.
It is. People get the raw, they get the real, they get authentic. I get that. That's part of it. And that also comes from me admitting to the audience, wasn't my best work today. Even I apologize to you because I know you like to give me shit like I'm not paying attention sometimes.
That's fair.
But in today's situation, I realized, oh shit, he had just said that, but I was busy trying to set something up since we were live. Right?
It's all good.
So
man.
I'm just trying to be a little better.
We're trying to get to what? 9,000?
Yeah,
is that our number?
Trying to get to 9.
Well, we got to go live on Tuesday now, by the way.
Oh,
just so you know, there may not be a Tuesday show because it might just be a post game Tuesday.
Do we have times yet?
Let's look.
You know what's funny?
Because it usually takes a minute to get the timing right.
You know what? I shouldn't actually beat myself up now that I think about it, because on the drive back, I was sampling some podcasts to see what the big deal is about certain people. So I listened to some Shane Gillis, comedian Shane Gillis, his whatever secret podcast it's called.
No times yet. I don't see time.
There is zero production value to that podcast. And yet it's like this incredible
podcast. What does that say to you?
No, you're right.
It says what you've always told me. People are there for you. They're not there for
You're right.
anything else.
All right, that's going to wrap it up.
They do play Tuesday night. There's no time yet, though.
All right, so we're going live Tuesday night?
We are.
All right, well.
Because I'm on that narcotic, and we got to chase that number from last year.
We're on
there's
that.
only one way to get there. And it ain't being live at 8 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. It's by being live.
All right. Well,
from the Three Rivers Stadium in Cincinnati, where our graphic is.
Hey, man. Hey,
look. Should we get in the car?
Look, in the.
You want to get back in the car?
No. Look, in the era that we live in, dude. In the era that we live in. Dayton. If I tell you that's Dayton, that's Dayton. I don't care if that stadium's not in Dayton.
We are now
It's Dayton.
We're now 1 for 2 on graphics, so I feel good about that. That's a win. That is a win.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up. We'll see you Tuesday night. Wait, what do I have? Oh, damn it! What do I got Tuesday night? There's something going on Tuesday night.
I don't know. We might be in Wilmington Tuesday night. We'll figure it out.
Oh, geez. Oh, wait.
Maybe we'll kill two birds with one stone.
What time would the game be? Because I have
We
Walnut.
don't have a time yet.
No. I'm saying it wouldn't be like at 5:30.
No.
These games are like 7 and 9, right?
No, it would not be. No.
Because I got Walnut Creek.
So Alabama, I can promise you, Alabama State St. Francis will be the early game, which is probably like 6:30.
Perfect.
And then Carolina will be the 8:30 game. Would be my guess.
Perfect.
Would be my guess.
Perfect. All right. Well, there you go. We'll see you. We'll see you Tuesday night for another After Dark. For real this time. We're saying bye. Bye.